Hello and welcome to the Coffee Chat Show with me, Jody Misiak. And today we are going to actually talk about yelling less and laughing more, having more fun. And it's actually kind of funny how the universe works. It kind of goes hand in hand with last week's coffee chat, what we talked into. However, I had this plan like over a month ago what I was going to talk about. So it really it's amazing what the universe has in store for us without us even knowing. So this was something I've had planned for a long time. I want to this conversation isn't about making you feel bad about yelling. And it's not saying like yelling will never happen. I wanted to talk into yelling today because a survey was taken and it's the number one thing moms feel guilty about. Like for everything. Like so it's the number one thing moms feel guilty about. So if you yell at your kids, you're not alone. If you feel guilty about yelling at your kids, you're definitely not alone. And what I have to share with you today isn't necessarily going to help you never yell at your kids, but it might help you less. I know for me, I yell a lot less now. And when I do yell, it gives me a headache. So our bodies don't like yelling either, or not all the time. So it's just about finding a balance. For instance, I yell at my kids sometimes, especially if my son's about to do something that could really hurt him. The quickest thing I can do is raise my voice and he'll instantly stop in his tracks. Or if they're hurting each other, and there's definitely a time and place for yelling at your kids. So there's a couple things I want to cover today. One is when you yell at your kids, it's about working through that so you don't feel guilty. Because when we feel guilty, then we don't feel like we're a good parent, and it's just this ripple effect of not feeling good. So what can we do when we do yell at our kids? Because it happens. And how can we just prevent yelling? I'm all about prevention. I'm all about prevention when it comes to our health, preventing illnesses, preventing all those things before they actually happen, because it's easier to prevent something than to fix it after it happens. So, for instance, preventing yelling, so we don't have to, apologize after or feel bad about it after. So, how do we yell less? The number one thing is self-care. When I find that I raise my voice or I lose my cool with my kids or even my husband, I haven't allowed myself enough time to do things for me or fill my cup up. Usually it's when I'm running on empty, or like, for instance, these past couple of weeks, I've been so busy. And both weekends, I haven't been home for 2 weekends in a row. This past one, I wasn't even with my kids or my husband. I was away celebrating my mom's 60th birthday. So it was just a constant like go, go, go. And I felt grumpier because I was away from my surroundings. It was harder to practice self-care when I'm on the go, especially when it's not with my immediate family. I was actually with my siblings and my mom. So it's a little trickier. But it's those moments that we find that we're getting grumpy. The other one, for me at least, hangry is still a thing. I get hangry. If I'm not eating or resting or taking care of me, that's really where I fall short. And I lose my cool. One of the really cool things, though, is, I guess, according to my husband, he said I never really yelled a lot. But I notice it in my kids now. So if I do raise my voice, like this isn't even yelling, but if I'm just really stern, my daughter is like, Mommy, stop yelling. I'm like, oh, this isn't even yelling yet, kid. Like, this is just a very stern voice. This is my serious voice. But I guess I don't even use that very often. I really try to parent from a place of love. So when we have self-care and we really feel balanced within, it's really easy, or it's easy. I shouldn't say really easy, but it's easier to parent from that place of love, to follow our intuition. And I actually was mentioning this to my husband, I think just the other day, because I'm trying to give him parenting tips, because the kids seem to walk, like he has a couple things that he's like, I could use some help. And I'm like, I parent from my intuition. So it's taking a step back when things are going crazy, the kids are, as long as the kids are safe, and this is where I say usually I raise my voice when they're in an unsafe situation. Or if I'm constantly, here's a place where I lose my cool, the cottage. It's not safe for my son most of the time. So I'm constantly like trying to keep him safe, and that wears me down. In a half hour to an hour, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm super frustrated. So sometimes it's also, what are you doing with your children? Is it age appropriate? Is it child personality appropriate? Because each age and each child is different. So we limit our time at the cottage right now because it doesn't do what it's meant for me to, like. I used to go there to relax, and if I'm not relaxing, if I'm not at all enjoying it, I'm gonna get worn out at the end. So it's taking yourself out of those situations, or when you know that that situation is causing you stress, it's eliminate or at least shorten that time period. For example, it's Canada Day here this weekend on Sunday, and I want to be up at the cottage, and I've decided to take my daughter camping there, and my son will come for small amounts with my husband. My husband doesn't mind being at home longer, and I love the weekend. I love the cottage, so we're going to kind of balance. So it's just figuring those things out. So look at where you yell or why you yell. And again, like there's going to be times that it happens, and it's loving yourself through that. But again, taking yourself out of situations that cause you stress to the point of yelling, like doing too much in a day or on a weekend. I've been there. We just were there not that long ago. It happens. And it's just like, okay, how can we have a successful weekend? Like for us, we're problem solving. Our son doesn't go up as much. I still want him to see it. It's been a part of, I grew up there. It was my life, and I want him to experience it. But if I'm grumpy all weekend because I'm constantly chasing him, no one benefits. So it's finding a healthy balance. So it's really just looking at those areas that really frustrate you. And again, self-care, making sure that you put you on the top of the list. Because when that cup gets empty, you don't have that love to give when something happens and you get frustrated. Like, for example, our daughter hasn't been sleeping recently. She's been going to bed like 9 or 10 at night, and it's wearing me down. So we're trying to problem solve that. We're taking turns where I will stay with her for a little bit, and then my husband will take it. And we're just trying to get back on some kind of routine. But I know it's important to do so I don't lose my cool. And I really love parenting from a place of intuition where I can literally just go within and the answers are there. Like I've mentioned, my husband is like, sometimes I talk to my daughter and I don't even know where those words came from. But like I just quieted my mind, took a breath, and then words just came out. It was the perfect whatever to help the situation. So it's really just, when we yell, nothing good comes out of it. We feel like crap. Like I know, like I mentioned before, I get a headache. Or my throat gets sore. Nothing good comes from yelling. Unless you saved your child. Like definitely I raise my voice a lot with my son, because if he's about to, jump off the couch or like or from the window to the anyways, to stop certain situations. So how then, let's say we didn't prevent yelling, because it happens. Sometimes we just can't prevent stuff. As much as we lay things down, we have a good plan, things are going good. Sometimes things happen. So what happens once we yell? It's understanding that we're human. Us moms, parents in general, are human, and things happen. So it's taking a step back and giving yourself a hug. Make sure your child or children are okay, the situation's okay. Give yourself a hug. And when you have a moment, really just think about it. What happened? Not beating yourself up like, why? Like, man, I wish this didn't happen. It happened. And it's okay. But why did it happen? where, you were just go, go, go all day, you just had a really tough day. Or, you kind of forgot about you on the self-love list. Like, you just, or on your to-do list, just kind of let it go. Maybe you're hungry. And usually what I do, especially if I lose my cool, or actually, this is what I do when I lose my cool, is I talk to my child, especially Anastasia, my daughter. Um, if it's been her, I sit down because they do this at school too. They talk about put ups and put downs. And so I talk to her. I'm like, I'm sorry, I raised my voice at you. And then I usually explain different things. And it's like, it was not me being mad at you. It was, it's a situation. Or it's like, I didn't take time for me. And like, I have a conversation with her. It was actually really cool. At bedtime last night, I said to her, I go, okay, it's getting really late. You know what happens when I don't get sleep and I get grumpy and growly. And she's like, yeah, that happens to me too when I don't sleep. So it's them realizing when we tell them. So I was actually trying to prevent grumpiness because I was getting to the point of almost losing my cool, but I didn't. I explained like, okay, like I need to sleep too, sweetheart. So, but then they get to see like, oh, I'm grumpy too when I don't sleep. So it's really being open, it's not about putting all our adult problems on there, but it's talking it through with our children, depending on their age. And it's just a really cool thing when they realize what's going on. Also, I find a good way to help with yelling is being mindful. When we bring ourselves right into the present moment, like for that moment where I told my daughter that I needed sleep too, I was in the present moment. I could have been thinking about the million things I wanted to do when she went to bed. If I did that, that's when I probably would have been frustrated and possibly started yelling because then I get stressed. So yelling really is brought on by stress. Where are we getting stressed out in our lives? And then again, that's where prevention helps. And then if it happens, it happens, and it's loving your way through it and figuring out maybe prevention for later, or just be like, okay, like, that's really when you can give yourself a hug. It's like, I love you anyways. So sorry I lost my cool. Like it's yes, you want to apologize to the person you lost your cool to too, if you can, unless you haven't brought yourself to it, but maybe it's you first. I'm sorry I lost my cool. Let me figure out, where that is. Like clearly something was off kilter, out of balance, and I'll work on fixing that or figuring out what that is. Maybe not fixing. I don't like the word fixing. Just figuring out what it is. But the number one thing to think about with yelling is to remember you're not perfect. I'm not perfect. And to me, to be here and be like, yeah, never yell at your kids. I never yell at mine. That's not true. I definitely raise my voice. It happens. And again, though, it happens usually when it's so busy and life happens. Like we are busy a lot. And it's just taking those moments. It's not getting in that cycle of like the hamster wheel of like go, go, going. And you yell and then you kind of forget about it, and you keep going and then you yell more and you forget about it. And it's really figuring out maybe why is it happening? And then also it's about being mindful. There's definitely more things I had down. I was actually working on a free guide for this, but it's understanding that it happens. First off is really being okay with it. Not being like, man, like yelling's awesome, I'm going to yell all the time. But it's knowing that it happens to parents, and it happens to the best of us. And the reason, and if you do feel guilty, that means that you're being a rock-on parent, in my opinion. You actually care about things, but it also can stem to different things, like what were you brought up thinking about yelling, and all these other factors that can come into place. And that's what I really do one-on-one coaching with moms, so I can really get to the root of each person's personal journey. But just know that you don't have to be a perfect mom. you just love yourself and love your children along the way. Life can get messy, life can get loud, and life can get full of tears. It's just really embracing who you are and loving your way through it. So I hope that helps a little bit. I still don't have anything to report with last week's coffee chat about my father-in-law, because I actually haven't seen him person to person yet. And I like to do it in person. So I have nothing to report on that. Hopefully I will at some point. However, this is actually the last coffee chat in June. So I'm actually going to pull a card from the Life Loves You cards for the last time till probably September. And so there's no coffee chat next week. Enjoy holidays. So in advance, happy Canada Day to all my fellow Canadians here. And happy 4th of July to anybody in the US. So I last week pulling cards, it's kind of like, it's the end and then it's summer vacation. So what's going to happen is no coffee chat next week. However, starting the week after, July, I'd like to say 10th. I think it's July 10th. It's a Tuesday. Coffee chat is going to be moved to Tuesday at 12:30. It's going to happen hopefully every week. It's going to be shorter. So if you have any questions or anything that comes up through the summer, message me, email me at info@jodymisiak.com and we can touch on them. But I'm going to hopefully just share 5 minutes. It's coffee on the go. I may be at a park. I may be on a walk. I may be at the beach. Who knows? It's going to be coffee on the go. It's going to be exciting and different and just really short. And if anything comes up in the group, I can always do a longer chat about something and we can really talk into it. That will be different. But coffee chat will be coffee on the go this summer and really just touch about a certain topic. It might just be something that's happening in my life or that I feel like other people in the group need. And we'll just go from there. There's no topic set. Like June, I had literally every topic planned in May. So I knew exactly what I was going to be talking into because I am working on the podcast this month, which is being launched next Friday. So coffee chat will be a lot shorter in the summer, and I might not be able to answer questions or see who's posting either because I'll be doing it on my phone, and we'll see how it goes. I need glasses for distance, so we'll see how it goes. So it'll be like a fun, carefree, it's summer, so easy breezy. But again, if you have any topics throughout this summer that you'd like to talk into, something comes up, it literally can happen, and you can just message me or post it in the group, and we can definitely talk about it. I can jump on quickly, and we can do a talk into it. And if you need one-on-one coaching, the summer can be a very stressful time. I definitely can take a few clients. I don't have a lot of space, but I can take a couple, and if that's something you'd like to do, please just message me, and we can talk about that as well. So before we go, I'm going to pull a card. What do people need to hear the last time before summer? Because I'll be holding my phone. I won't be able to do this. So what do we need to hear before, like for the summer? What does somebody or all of us need to hear? I am open and receptive to love. Life is always trying to love you, but you need to be open to see it. Complete this sentence. I can make it easier for life to love me by. I feel like we've had this one before. It keeps showing up. I believe. Maybe it's a different one, but it feels familiar. So I can make life easier, or I could make it easier for life to love me by. So I hope you have a beautiful weekend, a beautiful long weekend or holiday. And I wish you all the best. Stay tuned for the podcast. It's exciting. I'm teaming up with my husband, and we've been really working on this the whole month. So and before that even, but we really focused all month of all June. So I hope you have a beautiful day. I went over a little bit, sorry guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.